Hey, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. I have got, as the title would suggest, the Galaxy Z Flip phone, and I thought I'd tell you about it. I think I'm going to focus more on my experience with the phone as a novelty unit as opposed to the specs itself, but we'll put those up on the screen there. I think it's safe to say that this is not a flagship spec phone, but given that it's a novelty style phone being the Flip and all, I think that we'll give it a pass on that, because people aren't going to be buying this for the tech. The Galaxy S20 Ultra, which we reviewed not that long ago, actually is about the same price and is absolutely the best phone on the market as far as I'm concerned, but you do pay a premium for that. In New Zealand, where we live, this is a $2,400 phone, as at the time of filming, which we checked the price on via the Noel Leeming website. It's $23,990, and that is a lot of money, and is it worth it? Anything around the lines of, is this worth it to you, is subjective. Do you have the money to spend? Is it something that you really want, etc, etc. $2,400 is not nothing. And I guess it's down to the fact that given that this isn't flagship level specs, it's all about the Flip. And that's kind of cool. Certainly some of the specs on this are not exactly cutting edge, so you are paying for what is effectively a fashion item, and the marketing in New Zealand would certainly support that idea, being that this is more a fashion statement than it is a cutting edge device. And that's fine, but let's look at it from that point of view instead. The thing with, I guess, fashion in general, not that I really know anything at all about fashion, obviously, is that you want people to see it, you want people to recognise it, and you want people to comment on it. And this has definitely had a lot of comments. I've been daily driving this now for about 2 weeks. And yeah, people notice. Like, I was actually, I'll be out and about, and you get a message or whatever, and you open it up, and you go, oh, people go, oh, you've got a folding phone, can I have a look, can I have a look? And yeah, I mean, I'll let anyone have a look, have a play, that's absolutely fine. I think the thing with fashion, though, is fashion is subjective, and how often is technology fashionable? I mean, wearables have been out for a while, and people do seem rather interested in those more so these days as opposed to when they first came out. They were more of a niche item. Is phone being a style thing, particularly as a point of difference? I mean, if you've got the latest iPhone, I guess that's kind of cool if you like iPhones, which I don't. In terms of actually using this phone, I mean, once it's open, it's as much the same as any other phone that you would use. There's nothing really overly different about it. What is interesting is that someone pointed out the other day that it's actually not entirely flat. It's got a slight skew to it because it doesn't open 180 degrees. It's about 178. I actually don't know that for a fact. That's a guesstimate. But the point is, it doesn't go all the way open. Does that really matter? I actually didn't notice it until it was pointed out to me because someone looked closely at it. It does have a couple of quite cool redeeming features though, because we've been on lockdown here, and you were always on doing Zooms or video chats or whatever it is. It has a really neat ability of being able to open halfway, and then you can sit the phone on a table, and then you're looking at yourself and your camera's pointed. So you don't need really, like, my daily driver is a Note 10 Plus, and it's always a case of propping it up, it falls down, etc, whatever. But it's much easier to get a flat surface for this and then open it, like so, as opposed to getting this propped up on something and whatever, because actually this case I've got on this, or the tabs broke off. It's not very good tabs. As far as connectivity and anything like that goes, it's been absolutely fine. Bluetooth is all good. Used that on my headphones quite a few times. It only has a USB Type-C at the bottom, but that's becoming standard now, which is great. The screen is quite nice to use. It makes videos look nice and stuff like that, and games do look nice as well. The only thing that I've noticed is, particularly if you're playing games and you've got a control that's near where the reverse camera is on the inside, where it's actually on the screen, that can be a little bit problematic at times, but it hasn't been a big issue. But if you've got an action button there that you can't see because it's behind the camera, that's a little bit of a problem, and it is a little bit distracting if you're using it on full screen for a video, but for the most part it's pretty good. The keyboard is a little bit narrow for my hands. I do prefer the bigger phones like the Notes and stuff, just because I've got bigger hands. But I think given that this is a fashion icon, and I don't mean to sound sexist, but this is probably a bit more of a girly phone than a guy phone, probably not going to be an issue. Going back to the cool factor, one thing that I did practice a lot, and I did drop this a lot doing it, is being able to open it with one hand, which I can do it better than that, but you get the idea. It is definitely doable, and then yeah, you look a little bit cool, but it does give you that nostalgic feeling of being able to you know. Something that I did notice the other day is if you try and flip it open, as the name would suggest, that doesn't actually work. The hinge is quite strong. Oh, I just did it from halfway. So it is doable, apparently. I wouldn't recommend it though. I feel like that's actually going to be too much stress on it. But just sliding the thumb in the side and getting it open, I did it pretty good that time. And then Bob's your uncle, your phone's open, and then you can fold it up and put it back in your pocket. Actually, holding it next to my Note 10 Plus, when they're open, I run in my Note in a case. However, they are actually fairly comparable in size. The major difference is it's a little bit slimmer, and it's also quite a lot narrower, and the screen is very much noticeably narrower when you're using it. Like, you might be going through your social medias or whatever, and then you go back to a normal size phone, or what I consider a normal size phone, which is actually quite big, and then you realize how much more real estate you've got on the screen, which personally for me as a media consumption device, I quite like. In terms of actually using it as a phone, it operates just as you would imagine, because it is, at the end of the day, a phone. And it does a good job. It absolutely will run pretty much anything I've thrown at it. I've put some 3D gaming on there and it's run that quite well. It doesn't heat up during gaming, which is actually quite good to know, considering that the batteries are actually, there's two batteries and they're both behind either side of the screen. And there was no heat. It was actually really good. I had quite a few good games. The camera quality is pretty good, but again, it's missing out on the camera in terms of upper end of the market, because they've put the money into the fold as opposed to the hardware, which is fine. I mean, that's just something that you're going to have to pay for. Otherwise, this would be a $4,000 phone if you wanted to get the S20 Ultra specs on a flip, which would be kind of cool. The cameras on this are definitely passable. They are absolutely modern, and they will do as good a job as pretty much most things on the market these days. Certainly not flagship level stuff, but these are going to be comparable to pretty much anything around the sort of $1,000+ price point. In terms of camera quality, it is, I mean, Samsung does put out good cameras on their phones and I really like them. I would say it's probably not quite as sharp as the Note 10 Plus, but that again was a flagship at the time, which wasn't that long ago. So aside from having the cool feature of being able to flip up and be used as a device that can support itself, and the fact that it's a little bit cool, it's a little bit different, and it's a talking point, that's pretty much it. Other than that, it's very phone-ish, and again, it's pretty good higher mid-level phone as far as specs and performance go, and I've got pretty much no qualms about how that works. Obviously, being new technology though, with a folding screen which is questionably glass or plastic, that's the debate's out on that one. Do go and check out Jerry Rig Everything. He did some proper testing on that screen and it's quite interesting. But would I buy this phone? No, I wouldn't spend the money. I wouldn't spend my own money on a fashion item, primarily because I am not fashionable, as we all know. But regardless, I still wouldn't. I would rather invest my money in a device for a good quality camera and huge amounts of storage, which is why I went down the Note track. And yeah, that's pretty much the size of it. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Cheers.